We've got to start talking about the Dallas Mavericks move to Valley View. The news came down yesterday afternoon, about 3:45 in the afternoon. News broke that the Dallas Mavericks have now chosen their site for their new arena when they begin the process of building it somewhere in the coming year or so, with eyes toward a 2031-32 season opening for this new arena after their lease at the AAC comes to a close. Joining the show to help us talk about it, a certified DAWG, Cole Sullivan. Welcome in.
I promise we're competent, Cole. Just give us a second to kind of gather ourselves.
We are definitely
promise
not competent in any way, shape, or form. We had the chance to break this down a little bit yesterday. But let's take people through this a little bit further, the particulars of all of this. The site is going to be the old Valley View Mall site. It's 104 acres up in far north Dallas. As we talked about yesterday, this is just barely within the city limits, but it is within the city limits. They will still be truly the Dallas Mavericks, which is something that maybe they'll be the only team that can make that claim here in the coming years. We'll see what happens with the Dallas Stars, but they have at least chosen their site, and we were alluding to this during our midday hits, something that you said yesterday. This is merely the first step in the process. This is akin to making an offer on a home, not closing on a home.
Exactly. Mike, can I say something, though? After we talked yesterday and we kind of broke this down a little bit, I got complaints from people who said, no, Valley View is in Dallas. Stop saying it's nearly outside of Dallas. So some folks up there are a little upset with us. This is the first step in a long process. The Mavs announcing yesterday that they have essentially put an offer in on 104 acres of land at this mall site. We don't know how much they're paying for it, but I'm getting emails in right now with some details from our newsroom that at least one parcel cost $50 or so million. I don't think that's the whole amount for the 104 acres. We're working to report that out right now. But they would move from the AAC up to this site. Plans for a state-of-the-art arena, they say, and of course, like every team these days wants, an entertainment district around that too, restaurants, hotel, retail. They say green space. They think this is going to be an area that's programmed 365 days a year, not just for home games up there.
It's interesting because you brought up yesterday the Atlanta Braves location, and that has been the model for so many teams around all of sports after they introduced their battery when they opened up their new facility, which was bringing the Braves out of downtown Atlanta and fully to the suburbs in that scenario. And it was such a success, and we've seen copycats spring up, including Texas Live in Arlington is a direct copycat of the Atlanta Live setup that they have there at the Battery. And it's making me think of, especially that shot that we just had, the aerial shot of this site. And there are some small high-rises in the similar vicinity. And what are we going to see Dallas start to look like Atlanta in that regard as well, where you've got like the three different kind of key downtown-ish areas where they've got their, because Atlanta's so spread out, and Dallas has some of that already in place. Does this then take that to another level, I wonder?
I think that's probably part of the dream, right? Because the thing, I'm from Atlanta. I'm from in-town Atlanta. I'm a true Atlantan. Was heartbroken when the Braves left Turner Field to move up further north. But what they've done with that space is incredible, right? I mean, I have friends who now live near the Battery. They're Braves fans. That's not the only reason they're living there. They like to go to the restaurants there. They go hang out there. I mean, it's become not just the parcel of land where the stadium and the entertainment district is, but it's brought everything around it up too. I mean, my friends live in apartments near there that are not necessarily owned by the Braves or part of that property. I think the economic transformation that this could be for this site that has been essentially empty since 2021, nothing there since 2023, could be huge, not just on the land itself, but in the area around it too. Of course, that means it's a big shift, and not just sports, but also business and entertainment away from Victory Park and downtown up 12 miles to the north too, which has a ripple effect for downtown as well.
That was kind of going to be my follow-up, is what does this do to the downtown area, which we've kind of we previewed this a couple of weeks ago when we first had you on losing these two teams and what it would mean for downtown basically turning into an arts district. The positives for moving up north seem there. from the Mavs perspective, but what does this do for downtown?
It is a huge economic hit for downtown. I mean, think about the area right next to the American Airlines Center. Those bars, those restaurants, they now have a lot fewer people coming through, right? Because even if the Stars end up staying at the AAC, you have half as many teams that are playing there and half as many fans that are coming through on those peak days to eat at those bars or eat at those restaurants and drink at those bars. That's a huge hit for that area. The ripple effect for downtown, which downtown Dallas, we could have a whole not sports show about downtown Dallas and the struggles that they're facing right now with other businesses leaving and heading north as well. The plan to move to City Hall was kind of an effort from the city to save downtown as much as it was to keep the Mavs in downtown. The idea that if we build this new entertainment district in the kind of southern part of downtown, we can bring more people to this area and rejuvenate this area. Well, now we're seeing businesses leave, we're seeing stores leave, and we're seeing the Mavs leave downtown. It's just going to be a huge hit for that area. Downtown Dallas Inc. is like a business group that kind of advocates for downtown. And I gave them a call yesterday to see if they have a reaction to this. I would not want to be in their shoes. They did not have anything to say yesterday. I don't expect they'll have anything to say today. It is a rough time for downtown Dallas.
Kelly, sorry, if we can pull up VO4 real quick just to show the distance physically where it is on the map. I found it funny kind of looking at this, funny in a morbid sense, but also just kind of hilarious to see that the one major area between American Airlines Center and current Valley View is medieval times, as that is the landmark that makes the biggest difference when you scan out aside from Love Field. Anyway, go ahead, Michelle.
What time of day is it only 16 minutes, by the way? Is that at like
That's what I was about to say. This must have been the middle of the night.
I just pulled this.
That's the Dallas North Tollway for you.
Yeah.
When it's not rush hour.
When it's not rush hour,
Yeah.
you can scoot up the tollway.
Yes.
But if you were to do it in the last hour or whatever, you could probably get there in 16 minutes. But if you're trying to do it at
Game
6
time.
o'clock at night for a 7 o'clock tip,
good luck. Cole, I want to ask you, because you cover so many different things, not just sports, obviously, but you would be an excellent sports reporter.
Can I just say, this is, I think, my third time on this show. Am I your most frequent guest at this point?
Easy.
Yes.
I think that's
Easy,
true.
yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is there
I have a
anybody
lot
else
of-
who's been on twice?
Do we need to make a permanent super for you? We have a list of permanent supers.
Yes.
I
Dallas
was gonna
Wings
say-
guard Cole
Yeah,
Sullivan.
if SNL has the 5-timers club, we have the 3-timers club.
I'm
Congratulations,
on my
Cole.
way. I was going to say I have a lot of high school bullies who would be very surprised to see that I'm
Cole, you
got your
give me
back.
those names
We
of
got
any
your
high
back,
school
man.
bully.
Hey, if you want to take this moment right now to dunk on your high school bullies, I'm all for it, dude.
absolutely.
Let 'em
I'll
hear.
save their name. But anyway, Michelle, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, that's every day. Everyone does. It's okay. But anyways, they're
Part
laughing.
of the show.
They're laughing. Show them laughing at least. It was a joke. Okay. Anyways.
Because Kelly's laughing and she doesn't want to.
I'm so sorry, Michelle.
Anyways.
Michelle's directing the show now.
Flailing. Cole, help me.
Wacky waving
all
flag
right.
alarm flailing to
My
Michelle.
question for you, sports reporter, Dallas Wings guard Cole Sullivan, is you have such a unique perspective because you can see how different, things have economic impacts. How much do you see sports and a professional sports franchise making a decision like this impact the daily lives of the people in this region, right? Like, it's not like Neiman Marcus downtown is closing. It's the Dallas Mavericks leaving downtown. What kind of impact does the sports angle have on those ripple effects that you talked about? And how does it compare to some of these other things like shopping or educational impacts or
AT&T
things like that?
headquarters leaving downtown, for example.
Thank you, yes,
Yeah, that's
yes.
a great question. So AT&T has announced that they're planning to move their headquarters up to Plano around the same time frame. That's a huge hit to downtown. That's a double-digit hit to the sales tax revenue and or property value revenue in downtown, which affects the city, which then affects parks and roads and all of these other things that folks don't necessarily think about. I think a sports team has a huge impact. I mean, the whole idea of this entertainment district is because of money, right? Like, the amount of money just gets bigger and bigger and bigger when you move beyond just having, games at an arena. That's a huge economic impact. Now, Dallas is saying this is a win. it's still in city limits. That money is still going to go into the tax money is still going to go into the Dallas tax kind of budget. There was a fear among some that the Mavs would leave Dallas entirely. That would be a huge hit, not just economically, but I also think the bigger question is to the pride, right? We talked to a city council member yesterday who said that thought this was great news for Dallas because it means that there will not be another team that wears Dallas across their chests and play from another municipality, right? Talking about the Cowboys here, right? There's this idea that they're still inside Dallas. So let's not discount the economic impact this is going to have in North Dallas because it's going to have a big economic impact there. It just leaves a hole in downtown where the Mavs are leaving from.
Cole, what are the next steps here? Obviously, this is the first one, but what's the steady trickle? What are the big decisions, either city council wise or voting with regards to like tax revenue to start funding this? What can we start looking for over the next year here?
I think a lot is going to happen very fast. So there are a lot of things that just have to change procedurally to make this go forward. Obviously, the sale has to go through. You've got to change zoning. You've got to get neighbors on board. You've got to avoid kind of, X factor lawsuits, things like that folks might be upset about. We've talked about traffic in this area not being great already. What are you going to do about that? There's no public transit to get you up to, or no train, I should say. There are buses, but there's no train station like there is at the American Airlines Center. There are going to be a lot of questions about this. Those all have to get answered. And then to the second part of your question, Andrew, the the arena has to get built, and that costs a lot of money. And probably taxpayers in some way, shape, or form are going to have to kick in for some of that money. Last time I was on, we talked about this survey that was going out to folks asking their willingness to increase hotel motel tax and car rental tax in order to help pay for something like this. I think we're going to see that on a ballot very soon, possibly as soon as November, to ask the city of Dallas or Dallas County residents, would you support charging ostensibly visitors more money in order to help build this new Mavs complex? November is probably, based on the people I talked to, the best time frame to get that vote across the finish line, to get a yes on that. So that would then have to be voted on this summer to get it on the ballot. We're going to see a lot of steps along the way before we actually have a tip-off at a new arena.
One final thing that I'm curious about here, and I'm curious about this from all three of you, because we have had this conversation relative to the Cowboys, relative to the Texas Rangers. They're playing in Arlington. The fact that Arlington taxpayers had to pay for those stadiums over the course of not just the recent vintage with AT&T and Globe Life Field, but even going back in the day to the original Rangers stadiums that as they made their way into Texas in the first place. The fact that they're potentially were considering playing outside of Dallas. The fact that the Dallas Stars are considering anyway playing outside of Dallas and being a team that wears Dallas across their chest but not playing within the city limits. We see this a lot of places elsewhere across the country. The New York Giants and the New York Jets don't even play within the state of New York. They play in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The New England Patriots are commonly associated with Boston, but they play in Foxborough 45 minutes away. Now, I know their name is the New England Patriots, so there's reason, I suppose, there, but they're still associated with Boston. It seems like, because I've lived in both of those pockets of the country, and I've lived other places where, it didn't seem to matter as much to people. For some reason, it matters more here. There's more pride baked into that than I have ever experienced anywhere else across the country, and I don't know if any of you have?
I think some of
how much did it bother Atlanta, Cole? When because you mentioned before it bothered you when they left Turner Field.
Well, they would say that there's a sliver of the stadium that's still within city limits, so they did not technically. But it is.
That's quite a technicality.
The third base line is right on.
As far as I'm concerned, we're in the suburbs now. Mike, I'm curious from the three of your perspectives. The answer to that question is, how much did losing the Cowboys cause that scar in Dallas, right? Like the Cowboys leaving, from folks who I talked to in the city side of things, is a real point of we lost this team. And I think the fear is no one
them to begin. Well, I mean, I guess they had them when they were in the Cotton Bowl,
right?
But the first place that everybody thinks of for the Dallas Cowboys is their original home. I'm sorry, is not really the Cotton Bowl. It's Texas Stadium. I know the Cotton Bowl did precede Texas Stadium. I understand chronology, but you think of Texas Stadium, and that was already outside the city limits. So when they went to Arlington, they weren't like you lost out in that competition, because I know there was at least a pitch to have them come here, but they weren't here in the first place.
So I
Well,
just want
I guess the
to go
question,
ahead.
that pitch, losing that pitch, I think affected Dallas deeply.
Right.
Yeah.
I will just say this. I'm too young. I grew up with Texas Stadium, so I didn't have any connection with the Cotton Bowl growing up, so that's part of this.
Most of us that are living at this point don't. We're talking
Correct.
about 60 plus years ago at this
But
point.
I've been
55, whatever.
just personally, I've been like the trips that my family and I have been going on lately have been kind of crossing stadiums off bucket lists,
Yeah.
right? So we've done a lot of travel around. We want to go to a game. We want to experience this venue. We're kind of the principal buyer for what the Mavs are trying to sell in this. You want a full experience. You come down, see what we got, go on. My principal issue with the travel so far has been we fly into a city and it's a 20-minute drive to get to the stadium to where I actually want to go, right? Like we flew into Minneapolis, for instance, recently, and we had to go to St. Paul to go to the Wild Stadium, which is across the way in a different part of town. We flew into Boston. Fenway was right there. We could literally almost walk to TD Garden, but Foxborough was out of the way. Those elements do matter in terms of how we're planning trips. Does it affect whether we're going to see it? Probably not. We're still going to experience what they're going to have, but having that association with being downtown and being in that area is still very crucial to a lot of franchises around the country.
I think my take on this is, like, each city, in theory, has a personality to it. You think of Philly, you think of Boston, you think of LA even, or New York. Like, part of the fabric of, like, the sports teams is how they relate to the city. With all these teams playing in suburbs, like suburbs, no matter where you are in the country, some of them are, yes, colder than others. Some of them are warmer than others. I'm talking like north versus south. But a suburb is more of like a suburb than a city is unique in the way that it's a city. And I feel like the examples you gave, like MSG being in downtown Manhattan,
Which
there
was
is nothing like it.
Yes.
And I get that the public transport in New York City is much better than anywhere else in this country. But, no one's you're not getting in the car to drive out to East Rutherford to go to a Knicks game, and that's such a different experience than you are to go to a Giants or a Jets game. And how many people have, I guess there are a lot of fans who have suffered through the Jets agony, but
Jets and Giants agony the last couple of years. It's been rough.
They do have a dedicated fan base. But I guess my take on it is it takes away from part of the experience, I think, when you put all of these different arenas in the suburbs. Like, there is no offense to Arlington, but like driving out to AT&T Stadium or driving out to Globe Life, there's really nothing out there other than the parking lot and the stadium. Like, there's no experience to it the same way there would be, getting to be.
There's no culture to it.
Stadiums
There's no
and
culture
Six
to
Flags.
it. Yes,
The
exactly.
culture is the team you're going to see.
Exactly. And I think you lose some of the, appeal of the team, or fabric of the team at least, when they're playing in the middle of
makes it
just a big
special.
plot of land.
Right. And Cole, I do want to hop on that real quick, because obviously this franchise is currently in a huge flux position in terms of its relationship with its fan base. It just, judging by the last couple of years here, for a team that wants to start over and start the healing process, how much do you think a new stadium, a brand new adventure, let's say, or something new for people to latch on to, or at least try to, how much do you think that can help and or hurt in this process?
I think leaving Dallas would have hurt. Staying in Dallas is something that the team has always said since kind of this process started it wanted to do. It said, like we've heard from Rick Welch, we've heard from others, we want to stay in the city of Dallas. Now, Valley View, Preston Road and LBJ may not be what people think of when they think of Dallas, but it is not technically a suburb of Dallas. It is still in the city limits of Dallas. So that was important to the team. It was important to the city. I think it remains to be seen over the next 3, 4, 5 years whether fans are in favor of this or opposed to this. One of the reasons why Valley View came back into the conversation as a possible site is because the idea of tearing down City Hall in downtown Dallas to make way for the Mavs arena, that play was fumbled so poorly by really the city to begin with, if that was the first choice for the Mavs, it was a mess. And it turned public opinion against moving forward with an arena and entertainment district in that area, making it, from my perspective, untenable for the Mavs to have a deal done in that space by July. One last thing I'll tell you is, to your point about the suburbs, the city manager in Dallas, Kimberly Tolbert, said something that I think about every time we talk about these conversations about the Stars and the Mavs, saying that she made it clear to both teams that neither of them want to be playing looking out at an Applebee's instead of at the Dallas skyline. You can probably see the Dallas skyline from Valley View, but not as clearly as you could from the City Hall site or from American Airlines Center, where you're a part of that skyline. That's very different. And I did look last night. There is technically not an Applebee's around there.
But there's definitely a TGIF or something of the sort.
It's this close, right? I mean, there could be.
They're going to paint the skyline on the window.
I think it was Tim Cato. I think it was Tim Cato, Mavs and national NBA reporter, that tweeted a map of this location last night. And there's a Chuck E. Cheese right next door to the location. He said 2032 NBA Finals. We're going to Chuck E. Cheese to celebrate together.
I might have been
I'll
to that
see
Chuck
you all
E. Cheese.
there.
Cole Sullivan, thank you so much. Great work on this beat over the course of the last quite a bit of time. Thank you very much, and I know the work only continues, so thanks again.
We'll see you for part 4 in about
you
3
guys
months.
soon.
Yeah, right?